All right, here we go. Share a screen. Share.
There we go.
Okay,
Okay, now we can see.
now we can see. All right, here we go. Here. Uh-oh, wait a minute. We lost something here. One of my PowerPoints went out. All right, so wait a second. We'll get it back up. Hold on. We're gonna get this out. Hold on. And I'll go back here to the PowerPoint. I'm gonna move you over a second. And here we go.
I'm sitting in for Janet. She'll be back in a minute. If that's
There's
okay.
a black box on the screen.
Black box.
Do you have it now?
The
Still a
black
black box.
middle.
It says I am screen sharing.
Yeah, hopefully it will go away, that black box, in a second.
You have
Okay.
a black box.
Try it now.
Yep, all good. We can't hear you, Carol.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay. So that was the first PowerPoint. And I just want to say that all those pictures that you saw were taken on the iPhone, every one. The one that was the picture taken up out the window of the airplane of Washington, D.C., that was an iPhone picture. And now that I hope I have gotten you a little bit excited about what you can do, and as I said, they were all taken with an iPhone, we're going to start looking at the actual setup of the phone and a little bit about the iPhone itself. So I'm going to screen sharing. Let's go. Here we go. Hope you all can see this. Can you see this?
I can. Can everybody else?
I can.
Okay, then let's start with the slideshow. Here we go. So I'm going to just start a little bit with a history of the mobile photography, a review of some very basic photographic principles, phone setup, which I think a lot of people don't even know how to set up their phone. And then we're going to end up with the use of apps. Apps are just things to make your picture more beautiful, to take what you have taken and make any color corrections or enhancements that you want. And there's some very, very powerful tools. And one of my favorites is free, but that's coming along. That's coming. Now, how's this? Even Dennis the Menace went into iPhoneography sooner than a lot of other people did. I just thought this was the cutest little cartoon.
Carol, I wanted
Yes.
to let you know that you are maintaining your controls at the bottom of your screen, which is great for you. At the moment, I can't see what the caption reads because of that.
All right, then let me move this over. How about that? How can I get this down?
Show settings. I'm on my phone, so I'm unsure where your particular controls are, but it should be among your controls there. Oh, it's up at the top. You're looking fine.
Am I okay?
Of it now.
All right.
Oh,
So,
anyway.
you know, they have phones that take that now, is what Dennis the Menace says. So a history of mobile. See, I got to get rid of this. Let's see if I can go to more. Maybe it will take me down. No, I have to put this someplace. Can't move it. Oh, let me go back.
Under more, it said hide.
Did it say hide?
Yeah.
Record live reactions, hide names of annotations.
No, two more down.
Hide floating,
you
meeting.
go.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Just escaped it now. All right, I got that. Oh, let's go back here. All right, so the history of mobile photography. The first iPhone prototype, 2005. And it isn't that long until 2011, when the iPhone surpassed the Nikon as the most popular camera for uploads to Flickr and Instagram. And it even in 2017, which I did not put on here, was on the cover of National Geographic, an iPhone photo. And as of today, 1.9 trillion pictures are taken annually on a smartphone camera. That's a lot of pictures. So we're going to just go quickly through some basic photographic principles. And one is photography, but what you're trying to do is tell a picture with your pictures. And so I took a picture of my husband over here on his computer. And I said, well, you know, you have choices to make in making a picture. What do you want your image to say? Well, if I was on the left, I would say my husband has a very messy desk and leave his papers all over. On the right, it was more I focused in and the whole frame was my picture. If I needed to get to that picture on the right with what I had on the left, I would have had to crop this picture, take out a lot of pixels, which would have gone into the picture and created a better picture. So the principle is always think about what you're taking and zero in on what you want that story or what you want that picture to say. If you can take out a lot of the extraneous things that are around, it's all the better. In this picture of 4 tulips, there were, urns and plastic pots and a whole bunch of things. This was taken out at Surrey-Brook Garden. But I wanted to take a picture of these 4 tulips. So I went very close and got an up close picture of these 4 tulips. Because I took all the pixels that my camera allowed and I didn't zoom and I had just what I wanted with that picture, I was in turn able to turn that into 2 pictures, right? These are the 3 on the right. This is the one on the left. One on the left, 3 on the right, all from one picture. And I didn't have to throw out a lot of other stuff because I never took that in the picture. So it's really important to narrow down what you want in your picture. Timing is key. Always timing is key. So watch for those moments that are key in your storytelling. Photography is a study of light. I can't tell you how important light is when you're taking pictures. And you have to be aware of the direction of the sunlight or your other light source in relation to your camera whenever you are taking a picture. If you happen to be at the beach or someplace where there is a sun, and you have a person between you taking the picture and the sun, your sun is the light source, the person is going to always come out as a silhouette unless you use your flash, basically fool the camera into letting this become a person that you can see. So if it's your family and you're at the beach, take this person, move them over here, not in the direct sun, move them over here, put your flash on and take the picture. Just know that this is your light source and if you shoot into that light source, anything in front of it's going to be a silhouette. On the right, it would have been an average picture. This was a sunrise, but the sun came up on that tree limb, getting my words caught here, reflected off the tree limbs and refracted is the word I want, and came out and it made the picture. Again, I waited for that light to come and I took the picture. So why consider the iPhone as your camera? This is an actual picture I took with my iPhone this past November. I was down in Florida and I was walking this berm with all these birds. And there's my picture on the left. I was watching the birds. And then I turned and this woman, and literally she had these 2 cameras and another one in a backpack in her back. And here was this roseate spoonbill right back here that she was just watching and laughing. But I mean, that's a lot of cameras and a lot of lens. Now, I'm not photographing for, Wildlife Magazine. I'm just photographing for me and hopefully getting something that I will be able to make in a picture. And I was able to get that just carrying my cell phone in my pocket. So why consider the iPhone? It's discreet. You always have it with you. It is certainly less cumbersome. It's immediate and collaborative. You take a picture, you can then send it to somebody else and you can share it immediately. And most importantly of all for artists, it's a source of creative energy. I can't tell you, and wait till you see, it really, the sky's the limit on what you can do. So when you have your cell phone and you're thinking, how can I make it better? Well, one of the first things I activate the grid in my camera settings. You just go to your camera settings under your phone settings. And I do that for 2 reasons. Number one, it helps me to keep my horizon line straight. And it also helps me in placement if I'm following the rule of thirds for taking photographs, that I can divide a picture into thirds. And I think that the grid is an important feature to put on your camera if you haven't done it already. The next thing you have a choice with is a format. And in the iPhone, they have a format called an HEIC, which they say is a highly efficient form. The only trouble is that If you choose that highly efficient, that HEIC form, the only people who can see that are people who have Macs. So if you wanted to share a picture with somebody else that was on a PC, they could not see it under that format. So I would suggest that you change it to the most compatible format or the JPEG option if you want to share an image with a PC. Also, if you are taking pictures of your artwork to send out any place, you need a JPEG image. You won't be able to open an HEIC format. So put the JPEG option in your phone setting. Camera RAW is an option for an iPhone 12 and above. It is a 13-bit photo, and it puts out about a 25 megapixel picture. But if you start shooting only RAW, it takes up a lot of space, and a lot of the compatible apps don't work with RAW images at this point. So if you see something, what I end up doing is shooting it in JPEG, and then switching on the RAW and taking the RAW image also. I usually keep that off. Now let's talk about camera modes. This is a picture of the front of my phone, and this is it. Anybody who has an iPhone, this is what the front looks like. And you have choices of what kind of cameras to use. For about 80% of the time, I will use the photo mode, just the plain photo mode. I use the portrait mode when I'm taking pictures of people. And I use the pano mode sometimes. Time lapse, slow-mo, and video are the other options, and they are, you know what that means. Time lapse photography, slow motion photography just slows down the motion. Videos, if you want to take movies. Square. Now, some cameras have a square option. I would suggest do not use that. There was a point when Instagram only allowed square images. So a lot of people were taking pictures in a square format. The trouble is that when you take a picture in a square format, you're cutting out the number of pixels, the amount of information that is in that picture. So it is far better to take the picture as it is in your camera and crop it later. You will then have more information in the picture that you're taking. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about how to capture. Now you're ready to take, you set the camera up, and now you're ready to take that picture. And there are three main principles that I would really like to get in front of you tonight. And one of them is choosing the right lens or the focal length. Number two is holding your phone steady. And three, manually focus on your chosen point of interest, adjust the exposure, and I will explain all of these in the next couple of slides. Deciding which camera lens to use. I have an iPhone 12. I have 3 lenses. I don't have the new one. I don't have a macro. If I had a newer 14, I would have a 4th camera, which would be a very close-up lens, which would be a macro. So what about these pictures? What I wanted to show you was how each camera takes the picture, how each lens, not how each camera, how each lens. I stood in the same spot to take all these pictures. The one on the left is a wide angle lens, and it gives you a big breath, a lot of information, a lot in the picture. One in the middle is the 1X, which is the normal focal length for that most people take their pictures at. And the one on the right is your telephoto. This is I haven't moved. I have only changed the thing on my phone that tells me what lens I want the camera to use. And these are not digital. These are all in photo choices that I am making right now. Now, again, I just wanted to show you the next slide because you have to be careful with the wide angle. Wide angle, a lot of people who are realtors use this for indoors because you can take advantage of showing multiple rooms at one time. But you have to be careful because it also can lead to a lot of distortions if you're not careful with people. So be very careful and just use which lens you want carefully. And here's the next part of that. Don't zoom. All right. Each time you zoom, each time you use your fingers and you start pushing out and you keep on trying to get closer, you lose pixels and clarity. You're losing your ability to blow the picture up, making it less clear. So you need to move closer. Use your feet, not your fingers. And again, going back, I didn't even have to use my feet. I just changed which lens on my camera I wish to have take that picture. I didn't have to use my fingers and zoom out. Therefore, each of these pictures can be blown up to however I want, and I haven't lost any pixels. Russell Adams, a good photograph is knowing where to stand. And he did, you know, even in a DSLR, one of the principles is don't zoom. Always try to get as close as you can to what you want to take. Keeping your phone steady. Oh, this is a big one. Here's a little nugget. And just remember this one. The picture is taken when your finger leaves the button, not when you press the button, but when you leave the button. So hold the phone still until after you hear that click. I can't tell you, I see more people putting their finger on the button to take a picture, and the next thing you see is the camera, the phone, and the hand are moving up. They go click and up, click and up, and they just move the camera. And if you could just keep it still until after you hear that click, it makes all the difference. Also, take advantage of anything that you can help support the camera on, be it a wall, be it, you know, anything that you have. I even have taken pictures holding on and putting the camera on somebody else's shoulder just to steady it for a while, knowing that my hands couldn't hold it that bit. So keeping the camera steady. And here's another thing, and as important, how many people stick their phones in their purses, in their pockets? They never think to clean the glass on the front of the lens. Hello, if your lens is dirty, your pictures are going to be dirty. So every now and then, remember to please clean your front of your camera lens. Now, we're going to now talk about manually focusing. And this is a little video that I put in. And it is, for me, one of the most important things, if you can remember anything else besides holding your camera steady and not raising up and holding your finger down on the button until you hear the click, is telling the camera where you want the picture to be taken. You have a smartphone. I'm not going to argue about this. Is an amazing, amazing tool you have. The iPhone is programmed visually. It's artificial intelligence. It takes the picture it thinks you want. It may not be the picture you want. You may have a picture that is outside and you've got one person that you want to really make sure is in focus. You don't care about the others, but that one person you want to be sure you have in focus. If you don't tell the camera that you want to have that person in focus, it's going to generalize your picture and probably not have that person in as clear a focus as you would want. So I'm going to show you this little video now, and you can see.
This is a video on how to find the focal point in your pictures. Right now we have a display of lilies and mums, and I wish to have the focal point be on the stamen in the flower on the left. In order to get that, I'm going to take my finger and point and touch the screen. you'll notice a box comes up with a little sunshine. That is telling the camera that the focal point that I wish this picture to have is right there. I can then make the picture lighter or darker by just bringing my hand up and down. If I wanted to somehow, which I don't, make the background my focus point, I would take my hand and go up here. Now all of a sudden the focal point goes up into the corner. If I want the focal point to be the flowers on the right, excuse me, we just zoomed out. Let's go back here. I just point over here and the focal point goes to the right. You can also adjust the lightness and darkness of a picture just by touching on that, going up and down. That's on the dark side. This is on the brightest side. If I darken down the brightest, everything is going to get darker. But to me, it's that pistol right there that I want to be in focus, and I'll just bring that focal point down. Right there. And I'm going to take my picture.
Okay, and that is the picture. And I just wanted to point out also, it shows you how people say you can't get close-ups. I don't have the macro. This is just the regular photo camera on the iPhone. And I can even pick up the grains of pollen on that because I basically put my focus onto this area. So I didn't allow the camera to get fooled and pull in everything else. And the picture was able to be taken there.
This is
Now, if you have a landscape, you don't have to be quite as, you still need to basically get your point of view across and where you want the camera to focus. And in landscapes, you go about a third of the way in. So I would have gone right about here. I would have pressed my button just so that I could have gotten some information this far back. You can see I have the foreground. I've got many, many layers here all the way up and a beautiful sky. And that was because I pulled it. I wanted it to go into the picture and take more. If I hadn't, it probably would have more or less stayed somewhere in here. But by going beyond that, I pushed the camera to go further. I got more into the picture. Finding the hidden tools. This is also another interesting thing. Every time they make the camera smaller or put more things on it, they hide things on us. So the picture on the left is what my photo screen would look like as I'm going to take a picture. And as you see, there's photo. I wanted to take a photo. Here's my button to take the picture, 1X photo. If you look at the top, you'll see a whole bunch of other icons. One on the left, this is that I turned off my flash. I always keep my flash off. I never, hardly ever use my flash. This is a compensation. I usually shoot -3, which just makes for a little bit more saturation in my pictures. Here, I have turned off the raw aspect of my photos, and I've turned off this over here, which is called live, and we'll talk about that later. And if I wanted to change anything, I have to hit this button up here and go down. Once you go down, you can see instead of giving me camera choices down here, I have other choices. I have the flash, which I turned off. I have the live, which I've turned off. I have, this is the ratio, the picture ratio, which is 4:3. There are other ratios underneath there. This is the most compatible for the iPhone. The plus and minus is where I got the minus up here, where I saturate my picture by just doing it -3. So I have it take a little more time to take the picture and I get more saturation in the picture itself. If conversely, it was a very dark scene, I may go down here and bump this up to plus, 0.5 or 1, just to lighten up the picture. This one that looks like a thing is not a timer, but it is sort of, is where you can take a photo lap. So if you want to jump into the picture, or you have put your camera on a tripod, you can then get a 3 or 10-second delay in when the picture is taken, and you don't actually have to press the button. So if you're worried about a vibration in the picture, a lot of people use that option. These 3 rings on the right are filters that are in your camera. And I would suggest you not get into the habit of using those to take your pictures with, because if you do that, you will not be able to alter or change the picture once it has been taken. You can put filters on them afterwards. Don't take the picture with the filter. So we're now going to talk about this live button here. And live is just, I consider, a superpower. And on the iPhone, you have that option. What is live? Live is just a 4-second video. That's all it is, just a 4-second video. And as I said, I call it the superpower of live. When you take a live shot in your camera roll, a picture will come up. It will have the bullseye, and it will say live on the picture you have taken. And it will also, iPhones love to have little arrows, will have this little arrow. This picture here is of a waterfall. I use live all the time when I am around water. When I click this little button here, it allows me choices. I can then loop that 4-second video, which just plays that 4-second video of the running water over and over and over. It can bounce, which means it just goes up and down like a trampoline. The water just flows up and down, up and down. Or I can click on long exposure, which is what is on the right. And that gives me where all the water just slows down and becomes like satin. And if I was having my DSLR and I wanted to shoot this wonderful waterfall to look like that, I would have my tripod, I would have filters on the front to slow down the camera, and it would take me a very long time. And I would always have to travel with my tripod to get a picture like that. Another example, if you're at the beach and you have water and sun, and you take this in live, it will slow down those waves and you will get a very, very impressionistic picture of that scene. Now, you can notice there is a cropping that is done in a live photo, and there is no way you can get around that. But the end result is just magnificent. Again, water. Some people like the running water on the left. I prefer the water on the right. And as you can see, the photo is marginally cropped. But to me, this is a far more pleasing photograph to have. Another unused part of your iPhone is the burst mode for fast action. If you have children, grandchildren, dogs who want to do bike races, anything with fast motion, the burst mode is just a wonderful tool. You get 10 frames per second on a burst mode in the iPhone, which is more than most DSLR cameras. I just did these 3. This was a series of, I think, 5 or 7. And you can see I was able to get the butterfly on the flower, he's starting to open his wings, and then all open. And you can activate the burst mode by using the volume button. If you hold down the top volume button on your phone, or if you go take your picture and your finger is on the button, you swipe to the left, you will get into a burst mode. Now, the trouble is that it will take these pictures for as long as your finger is either on the volume button or on that swipe. So if you're not careful, you're going to have 27, 35 pictures on your phone. And all I can say is if you are covering this action and you do use this tool, please look at your pictures right away and delete the ones that you don't want. Select ones that you want to keep and get rid of the rest, or else you'll just use up a lot of camera space and memory. Panorama is another often forgotten use. And again, this was down at the Black Lives Matter displays. There was a big long wall, and there is no way I could have ever taken this picture using any of my modes, my camera modes. I could do it in the panorama. Now you can also, this was one that was done longwise, from the left to the right. But you can also do it from the bottom to the top. If you were in the Sequoia forest, you could do a panorama of those trees and go up. So don't forget that your phone does have this feature, and you don't have to use it every day. But if you come on a great big expansive scene, try to use the panorama. Now we're going to go taking the image that you want, and this is where the apps come in. The picture on the left was taken on the Aran Islands, and the picture on the right is done with 2 apps. And you can see the difference. And it is a proven fact that when you post pictures or do anything with pictures after you've used apps, they have more likes on Instagram. It's just one of those known facts. But it is so much fun to take something like this and turn it into that. So here it is, folks. My favoriteest of all apps, my go-to app, the one that I would tell everybody if you did nothing else tonight, download, is called Snapseed. It is a free app from Google, and it works on the Android and on the Google phone and on the Samsung. I think it works on every phone, and it is free, and it is a wonderful creative tool. It's a very powerful editing tool, and I'm just going to show you the interface of this in the next slide. But my goodness, most people who do iPhoneography, this is the first place they take their pictures to change them. Now, the phone itself, you can change, you can see up your pictures. But with the Snapseed app, you can save copies of the picture. So you can have lots and lots of different copies and still save your original photograph. An example, picture on the left, an old house with a porch. Into Snapseed it goes and it becomes a black and white. Now you have to work at it, but it becomes a black and white. Far better image in the black and white. Ruth Bader Ginsburg funeral. You had the casket was up in the Supreme Court. You had a perspective problem. I put it into Snapseed. I was able to correct the perspective. Come on. It would have taken me a long time in Photoshop to do this. Rodin statue. You take the one picture, you can change the mood just by changing and playing around with some of the filters that you have in Snapseed. From one picture, you get 2 other different moods. So we're now going to go into the interface a little bit quickly, and I'm sorry for this because this is a very powerful tool. I teach an entire class just on Snapseed and other apps, but I'm going to get you hopefully excited to download this app and to try it. So just listen now, and I will tell you about what to do once you download it so you can start to play with it. Once you download it and you press on it on your phone, the picture on the left is going to come up. And it's going to say, tap anywhere to open a photo. So you tap, and picture number 2 comes up. So these are some forget-me-nots. And your picture will then come up in the Snapseed app. And right away, go down to the bottom, oops, and you're going to see that you will have choices given you. You're going to have things that they've already pre-programmed in there that they think might look good on your photograph. So if you know, and you can click on these, nothing happens. It'll change up here and you can see it, but nothing will happen to the photograph. So click on them, play with them. If something really just, is perfect and you like it, click on it. And I'm sorry, but down at the bottom here, it'll say save. And that's what you have to do. You have to save it then. And you'll save a copy. So let's say one time you want a black and white. So you go click the black and white, save it. But it will also save this original picture. So I can go in the next time, tap the thing, this picture comes up, and I'll say, oh, I don't want that one. I want this accentuated one right here. And I click that and save that, export. That's the word down here. I can export that picture out. So I can have another one. I can keep on doing this as many times as I want. Now I'm trying to make this smaller and I can't. This is called looks. I have my thing here. I don't know if you can see this. This one is called looks. And those are your choices that come up. And then you have another choice down here called tools. And this is where I live. I live in the tools. So when I press the tools, this box comes up. And my goodness, look at all the choices I have with tools. The cartoon image itself, I can make it lighter. I can bring up the shadows. I can put in the saturation. I can, anything you want to do, it's all into cartoon image. You want to sharpen the picture, make it clearer, details. You want to put in a photographic S-curve, there you go. A very important one for people who take pictures of their artwork, white balance. You take a picture that you want to submit in your house. You are dealing with Calvin that is very different from the pictures that are the colors that are in your artwork. You can compensate for that by going into white balance and changing the white balance to truly reflect how your image really looks. Crop. Remember I said I never use the square format? I would do a crop right here. Rotate. Sometimes I don't have my phone in the right direction and I need to rotate the picture. This is where I would use it. Perspective. That picture with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, this is where I did it in perspective in Snapseed. Expand, it just puts a border around the picture. Selective, I can hit on any part of this picture with this tool and it comes up that I can change everything about the picture from its saturation to, I can basically do whatever I want, but it allows you to work on small little pieces of the picture, as does the brush. The brush and selective are both equal. Healing is a tool that allows you to take things out of a picture. So if I sort of want to maybe take out this line here, I would click on this healing brush. Now, Snapseed does a good job. It is not my go-to tool for taking unwanted things out, but I do use it sometimes. And I would only suggest is that when you're in this image, this is one time when you can use your fingers and really zoom and make that picture as big as you can to get to the area that you want to take out. And you can take it out, but be very careful. HDR, what does HDR mean? It means high dynamic range. And this is really good if you have a outdoor scene that has got a lot of lights and darks in it. It can pull this out beautifully. just don't ever use it on people because you will age them and make them look really ugly. Mostly landscapes. Glamour Go, a nice soft glow and a sort of a warm tone. Tonal contrast means it takes everything from the lights to the dark and contrasts them just with one click. These, the drama, the grainy, the retro lux, and the grunge all add different filters that you can play around with. Some of them have like 900 different choices you can play around with. And then you can vary the amount of grunge that you want, or this is different colors. This puts grain in your film. I happen to like the vintage. I use the vintage a lot, especially when I'm taking pictures of flowers. Black and white. You saw the images that I put into black and white. Here's my choice over here. Noir is a very, very dark look for pictures. Hardly ever use that one. Portrait, I use a lot. Take pictures of people. It will smooth out the skin, brighten up the eyes. You're gonna look great. And let's just say the head pose is just a little off. You can move it right here. Lens blur. So supposing the background is really, really busy and I just wanted this little clump of flowers here. I would put it here and a circle would come up and then it would start blurring everything else around it. I can control that. Vignette, just a dark edge around there. I can put two pictures together and get a double exposure. Text, I can say Happy Mother's Day across the top. It gives me a whole bunch of different choices of text type. And I can put a frame on it. And come on, folks. This is all for free. And once you start and get into it, I'm telling you, you can lose yourself into it. The only thing I would suggest you do is basically when you export it, the choice to make is save a copy. Save a copy of whatever you do. Your original will automatically be saved. Other useful apps that I use. The picture back where I told you it was in the Aran Islands and I had that two buildings, I said I use Distress FX Plus. I use that a lot. And it's the most expensive of all the apps I use. It's $11.99, and I feel it's worth it. And they constantly add new features to it. And once you make the initial purchase, everything else is free. Retouch is by far the best app for removing lines and unwanted images from your photographs. Perfect. It takes them out. You can even adjust the size of the line you want to take out. I've had big, street scenes with lines across them, takes them right out. I've taken people out. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And people often ask me, well, how do you get your pictures from your phone to your computer? Well, I have an app for that too. And I use PhotoSync. A lot of people use Photo Transfer or PhotoSync. They're both equally as good. And it allows you to just take the pictures that are on your phone and bring them into your computer, either to work on, send someplace else if you don't want to send it over your phone, or to put it into another application like Procreate or one of the other, tools that you may have on your iPad. So anyway, that's my favorite go-to app for transferring pictures. And finally, I just want to leave you with the importance of backing up your photos in at least 2 places. Put it on a hard drive, put it on an external, put it on a jump drive, put them someplace, put them in the cloud. I don't care where you put them, but back up your photos, because once they're lost forever. Anyway, I want to thank you. I want to thank the Montgomery Art Association for having me. And again, this is my email, carol@carolleadbetter.com. And if I can't get to any of your questions tonight in the chat, you can email me and I will try to help you find your answer to the, now, again, to the iPhone. I'm not good with the Android or the Samsung. Again, if you want to take a look at some of my girl camera photos, you can see them on www.carolleadbetter.com. And if you want to take a class, I will be teaching again at Stella Plain in the fall. Anyway, thank you.
Oh, Carol, that was unbelievable. Wow, that was a lot of information, as you you promised.
I told you, I mean, I feel like it was crazy.
We do have a couple questions
Yeah,
in the
I see that.
chat.
I'm trying to get back to my screen. I said, I'm screen sharing. Should I stop
Yeah,
sharing?
stop screen sharing. I think there you go.
Okay, hi, I'm back.
So yes, there are a couple
Okay, if you'll
questions.
read them to me, I'll answer them.
Okay, for photographing artwork for printing, what format would you choose?
Photographing artwork for printing. From the iPhone?
Yes.
Right. For the iPhone, I would bring it into my computer. And I would probably use my computer to then print to my Epson. I have an Epson fine art printer. I would not just go from my iPhone. I would take my iPhone, I would use my photo transfer app, bring it into my computer, because my computer is synced to my printer. So everything on my screen would be what I printed out. So I'd make sure that the quality was right.
But what format are you actually doing the photograph for? Are you using
I'm using a JPEG. Is that what they're asking?
JPEG, like the
Yes.
high quality JPEG,
Yeah.
the raw?
Yes. Now, and it depends on the size, because if I can get from my phone right now easily an 11 by 14, I've even pushed it up with, higher than that, like a 12 by 17, without any kind of other usage. But if I had to go bigger than that, I would use Topaz AI Gigapixel, take my which is an auxiliary program. I would take my JPEG image from my iPhone, take it into AI Gigapixel, and then print from there on my computer, because my computer screen and my printer are married.
Got it. Got it. Okay, next question is, what is the best way to clean your lens? As that was a very good point, that everybody has a dirty lens.
Now you have one of these things for your glasses. There you go. Just
Okay.
clean your lens, take the little thing and just clean it in the back. Just make anything. I can't tell you. Sometimes I forget, and all of a sudden I'm looking, I'm like, I had that in my purse, So clean your lens.
That makes a lot of sense. Somebody has an older iPhone, and it doesn't have all the lenses. Can you still get the negative 0.3? Or is that just the older?
That's just the older.
Now,
Anything, I think from the 8 above, it went to 0.5. Now the 0.5 came in with the 12. 0.5 came in, the wide angle came in with 12.
So for me, who only has the one lens on the back, that means I don't have any of those functions.
No, you have only one. What camera is that?
I think it's a 10.
Yeah, you probably only have one.
Okay.
Well, when you open up to take a picture, what does it say on the bottom?
It doesn't say anything much.
Does it say, like, when you go take a picture, you must have some numbers on the bottom of your screen? No.
There's no numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Then
Get yourself a new phone.
yeah.
It's worth it. I'm telling you, the new phones are amazing. And I've seen some of the macro lenses, people's pictures with the macro, and it's tremendous. But again, I don't seem to have a problem. I get pretty close with my, and I don't think, and I had a 10. So, and I used that before I went to the 12. I tend to get a new camera every 2 years, but not
Right.
every year.
Okay. Well, Maybe I'll consider that.
Oh,
Let's see. Somebody asked, are you going to show portrait mode? How
Not-
best to use, do you
Well, I'll
recommend
just tell
using
you-
it?
all right, I'll just tell you a little bit about portrait mode. It's tricky, only in that it like I really was very excited when portrait mode came out because I love flowers and I thought I could take all my flowers and blur the background and I was going to have, you know, just these wonderful pictures. Then it kept on telling me, move back, move back, move back. And as it was moving back, I was getting all this unwanted stuff in the picture. And that's a problem with using the portrait lens right now. It is more where you are just on people and you are a certain distance from that person or else it doesn't work very well. At least that, but once you're in there, it opens up a lot of possibilities also.
Got it. Let's see. How high is the pixel JPEG count taken? I don't know if I quite understand.
All right. Well, it depends. All right, let's say you have a 12 megapixel picture. All right. Your camera is 12 megapixels. That's 12 megapixels. Every single option was absolutely correct. You didn't zoom. You used the right lens. The lighting was fine. Everything was perfect. Then you probably get close to those 12 megapixels from your picture. Otherwise, if you zoom or the lighting's wrong, your megapixel count goes down a little bit. But I haven't really noticed any problems unless the main concerns most people have is when they start zooming with their fingers and they just think they're going to get closer and closer. And then they're not getting the picture that they wanted because they've actually destroyed some of those pixels that they could have had.
I'm guilty of that.
Move closer, use your feet.
Do you recommend any external lenses that can attach to the phone?
For what? If you want to get really close, the only one out there that I could possibly recommend is, I think it's called Momentum. It's expensive, and then you have to have a special case for it. I haven't found need for anyone. I mean, you saw on my pictures, I get pretty close, and it's just making sure you're very steady and getting that right focal length and using the right camera on your phone. If you really want to go all out, that one system, but you need a special case because you have to screw the lens into the case. And then if the next phone comes out, guess what? You have to get a new case, new lens. So it's an expensive proposition.
Got it. What is the difference between the ratio 4:3 and 16:9?
It's just a picture. It's sort of like one is closer to a video and one is closer to a picture that you would have that you would normally see. And the 4:3 format is the one that actually comes out as the best for the iPhone. That's the one that is recommended for the iPhone, not the 16 one.
Okay. A question about Apple's burst mode. Is the
Yes.
volume up button pressed or left swipe motion done
Oh.
simultaneously with the shutter button?
Oh, no, if you're going to take the picture, you either use one or the other. You use the volume control on the phone, but you have to activate that volume to use the burst in your setting. If you just hold down that volume up, it'll go, you'll hear it go. It's going to take a lot of pictures. And if you're doing, and here's another thing, if you're taking a picture, and again, I'm talking 12 and above, and you go to press the button to take the picture, and I'm not sure on the 10 if you can do this, but if you are swiping to the left to do the burst mode, if you swipe to the right, you'll get a video. That's another little quick thing you can just do.
Oh,
I
So
don't
if you're
quite
gonna
understand.
if you're going to
What-
take the,
What, I'm sorry, Carol, for interrupting. You said you have to do the left or the volume up button in settings rather than any part of the actual picture taking action.
Well, you just have to enable the phone to do that. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, I enable the burst mode to take, I enable the camera to use burst mode by using my volume button. Some phones, you have to enable that. I'm not sure if all of them do, but I think like Android, one of them you have to enable it. So if you press the volume button and it doesn't take a burst of pictures, look in your settings, because there'll be something under the camera that will say, enable burst mode by using the volume button, and push that on.
So it has nothing to do with the app that you mentioned.
Nothing to do. First is on your phone, no apps. This is on your phone.
Okay, well, I think that is the end of our typed questions. Carol, this has been amazing. Lots of applause is up in the chat for you. I know you put a lot of time and effort, and really it was paid off, and it's fabulous.
I'm glad. And as I said, just go out, take pictures and make mistakes. You're not paying for film, folks. You're not paying for film. So just have fun. And honestly, try Snapseed once you get hooked on that. And also, I believe there are a lot of videos on YouTube. So if you want to really sort of go beyond and you can't figure something out, go to YouTube, look up Snapseed and see what they have there. But definitely, all I can say is save a copy once you're in there, and then you always have your original to work on.
That sounds fantastic. And I was going to mention one more time, Carol does teach at the Del Plaine Art Center in Frederick, Maryland. Hopefully she'll teach more and more, as we were just talking about that, because she did such a great job on Zoom. So
Good night,
maybe
everybody.
there's more to come, a whole thing on Snapseed.
Okay, go get Snapseed. Go take
Yeah.
pictures. Have a good
They
one.
should pay you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a wonderful summer. I hope to see you at other events going forward.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Kathleen. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.